This is a dollar, but this is also a dollar. But only one of these dollars has lost 97% of its purchasing power over the last 80 years. And somehow, we decided to go with that dollar. It's in our cash, it's in our Venmo, it's everywhere. So what happened? How did humans ruin money? And why are you only hearing about this now from a guy on YouTube with a business casual suit on? It all traces back to one late night in 1971 and one choice that changed money forever. But first, we gotta talk about metal, heavy metal. The history of money is weirder and more twisted than money itself. Humans have been using metal as money for over 3,000 years. Long before Jesus ever said, "Render unto Caesar," a line that aged remarkably well for Caesar. Silver and gold, these metals became money because they were scarce, durable, and honest. You couldn't fake them. If you wanted more, you had to dig for it. And when people started putting names on this money, they didn't call it bucks, units, or republic credits.
Republic credits.
They called them dollars, which quite literally comes from the German word polar, meaning silver. So when governments and banks started making paper dollars, trust me, bro, wouldn't cut it. They had to back every paper dollar with some silver or gold in a vault somewhere. In America, for nearly 130 years, a dollar was like a claim check, a receipt that said you could trade this in for gold. And for a while, you actually could. This worked so well for the United States that for the first 100 years of the American economy, there was almost 0% inflation. They invented things like the light bulb, the telephone, cars, flights, all while prices basically stayed flat. Some things even went down in price between 1800 to 1900. And this one will really blow your mind. The minimum wage in 1950, $1. One single silver dollar. Today, that same coin is worth 39 bucks. Which means if we kept metal-backed money and didn't raise the minimum wage for 75 years, you'd be making 5 times more than what you make today. So how the f did we ruin money so badly? The year was 1910. America's got 5,000 central banks, each with their own version of the dollar and a gold stash backing each one. Go away. Bro, sound confusing? It was, for them and for you. But a few of the banks, they overprint paper, and people catch on. They take their paper, they go to the bank to redeem it for gold, until one day, whoops, there's no more gold left. And that's when shit really hits the fan. So in 1913, 6 bankers meet on an island. One of them says, what if there was just one central bank that held all the gold and it just loaned out the paper to the smaller banks? Sounds good, feels stable. Woodrow Wilson is like, okay, bet. And he makes the Federal Reserve. 20 years go by. Roosevelt's president, the Great Depression hits, banks are failing again, and yup, people are asking for their gold. Except this time, the president said, hey yo, chill, we gotta print more paper, but also, we're gonna need that gold. So, he makes it straight up illegal to own gold. If you don't hand it in, you get arrested, sort of thing. The dollar's still backed by gold technically, but now only foreign governments can redeem it. 10 more years go by. President Truman's like, we gotta build this bomb, it's gonna be expensive. But then they win World War II, and then he's like, oh damn, maybe the whole world can use the dollar. And he co-signs this thing where everyone agrees to use the US dollar in trade, even if they're not in America. All while America stores the gold, which totally exists to back every single one of these dollars. And then JFK comes in. He goes, why does the Federal Reserve run all this? Also, can we bring silver back into the mix? And then some guy shoots him, or the CIA, or Israel. I get it mixed up sometimes. LBJ takes over. He says, we're gonna fight communism and poverty at the same time. No gold left, doesn't matter. By the late 1960s, countries like France start getting worried about their gold. So they send a boat over.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
France.
France who?
We would like to redeem some of our gold.
France who?
We would like to redeem some of our gold. Where is our gold, man?
Sorry, we're having a bit of a hard time hearing you. Can you call back in like 20 years? And then Nixon shows up. The gold vault is running dry, so in 1971, he gets on TV and says,
Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
And that's when everything changed forever. After the dollar lost its gold backing, prices for everything immediately went insane. You think today's inflation is bad? Try this. 1,000 days after the events of 1971, the price of beef went up 130%. Gold tripled. The price of gas quadrupled. And the one thing that people actually wanted to go up in price, wages, only went up by 6%. And from there, all of it across the board kept going. The only reason it didn't look like Venezuela was because the rest of the world had signed on to use America's dollars in their economies. Look, I don't have to tell you this shit. 1 in 4 people under 30 watching this video right now is using buy now, pay later to get groceries. But the one thing that nobody talks about, taking money off the gold standard in 1971 didn't just mess up prices, it broke everything else in society as well. I printed out a few charts to show you. Worker pay, locked up with productivity until 1971. Now it lags by -6% every year. Pre-1971, it took 2.3 years for the average person to afford a house. Now, it takes 7. For the first 100 years, it took 30 hours to buy 1 share of the S&P 500. After 1971, it now takes 130. The reading level for a political speech rose for nearly 100 years in America until 1973. Incarceration rates, flat for a century. After 1971, they start ripping. Median age to get married, wealth concentration for the top 1%, birth rates, obesity rates, meat consumption, school shootings, and perhaps the craziest one of all, it took America 205 years to rack up its first trillion in debt. Now we rack up $1 trillion in debt every 120 days. Look, this is not the first time that humans have ruined money. And admittedly, this whole video has a very American perspective, which is kind of odd considering that I'm Canadian or a 51st stater. But it's important for you to know because basically every country on earth followed the US in abandoning gold back in the 70s and essentially went on the same inflationary path. In some ways, the US is just the prettiest horse in the glue factory. So, where do we go from here? Well, China, the second largest economy on earth, is quickly divesting almost all their treasuries from the US empire, and they're buying gold at the fastest pace ever. Everybody is taking bets right now on what will replace the dollar when it finally breaks. Is it gold again, Bitcoin, real estate, stocks, a Labubu blind box? If you take a look at the other videos on my channel, you can probably figure out what my bet is, but the trajectory is obvious to everyone. We broke money again. And it's a shame because for all the chaos we're going through right now, politically, culturally, spiritually, I actually think that my children's future will be much brighter than mine is today. We are on the precipice of never having car accidents again, having a $45,000 Android in our home catering to our every need, solutions for nearly every cancer or congenital disease, the ability to create Hollywood-level productions on our cell phones. But the invisible decay of money, that is the quiet quicksand underneath the house of progress that we built as a civilization. It's not as flashy as the house fires or the broken window, but it's much deadlier. And in my generation's lifetime, whatever replaces the dollar, let's just hope that it's better than this. Did I just commit a crime?